Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Life is Happiness at Vijaya Ramesh MN, Minnesota? Anyways, um, Vijaya Ramesh. I think I pronounced that correctly. So anyways, let's go and get started.
Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Life has two expressions. Life means life of human beings, animals, plants, gods, good people, bad people, in this continent, in that continent. Life in general have got only two expressions. One is get involved, second is get withdrawn. Other than these two, there is nothing third. So, whatever we do or whatever we don't want to do, both of them are aimed at getting happiness. Nobody does anything to become miserable. For example, uh, one day in UK it happened. My meditation retreat was going on, and one elderly Britisher asked me this question. He said, "Mr. Swami, I am from India. Mr. Swami, you people, why you don't get married?" So I kept quiet. He himself replied, "After all, happiness is not everything in life." Meaning, I said, "I have not understood what you are telling." He said, "There are two types of people in this world, those who are married and those who are happy." That day I understood this principle which I am talking to you, that whatever we do or we undo, it is only we are seeking happiness in life. A young boy, rather well educated, getting a very fat salary, a CEO of international company, no dearth of money, money everywhere. Now he starts imagining what a life without a wife. And then he starts for wife shopping. And finally he decides, okay, if I get married to her, I will be happy. Meaning what? He has confessed that now he is not happy. Otherwise, why we should? See, unless we have hunger, we will not think of eating food. Unless there is a sense of incompleteness, we will not like to add anything to us. So this boy, healthy, nice, everything fine, free to move around the world, just starts thinking, what a life, I should get married. Now what for is getting married? For becoming miserable. Think about it. Nobody gets married in life to become miserable. Nobody gets. Hey, why you want to get married? I want to become miserable. No, I want to become happy. Okay. And then he gets married and continues for a few years. And then he realizes, I think I was better off when I was single. See? So earlier he was getting involved. Now he starts rethinking. See? And then he wants to separate. The separation is also for happiness. He doesn't want to separate for misery, only for happiness. So he separates. Then again he is alone. Again he starts thinking, I think whether I have made it a hurry decision, I think so. What we are doing in short in life, we are struggling to get happiness. We are struggling to seek happiness. Contrary to that, if we change our approach to life, don't seek happiness, but express happiness. How important it is. We have to express happiness. The search for happiness is the most miserable search. When we say, I am searching happiness, I want happiness, that means I have confessed, I am bankrupt as regards happiness is concerned. I am miserable, therefore I want happiness. Instead of that, discover happiness that we are.
Could we say that we want more happiness? Maybe the happiness we have is not enough? Is that possible? Say I'm happy, but I want to be happier. Or is it just a system where you either are happy or you're not? There's no in between, as in, you're happy, but you want to be, I think there is an in between. I guess that kid, being rich, made it a CEO, international company, so much money. He is happy, but there is still an emptiness there. I don't necessarily disagree with anything he says. Everything's absolutely true. It's kind of funny, yeah. When we, it's kind of, it's also, I think you could say, like, you know, we don't seek food unless we're hungry. That's very true. But if you're constantly eating the same food, you're not going to be all that fulfilled or happy, or you're not going to be all that fulfilled. Your stomach will be craving something else. So could it be that, yeah, you're happy, but you want a different, more happiness, or a different kind of happiness, I suppose? I don't know, it's just a question. Because I think people can always get happier. I think people can be happy and want more happiness. But that doesn't necessarily mean that if you're seeking happiness that you lack happiness. I think that when you're seeking happiness, you could be in a position with no happiness, or in a position where you're happy but you just want more, or a different kind of happiness. You're content with life, but perhaps maybe you want a different kind of happiness or something like that. I think.
Don't seek. Seekers are beggars. See? Those who are rich, they distribute. See, friends. And this can come only by a simplest technique. The technique is we have to learn from every experience of our life. This is what has been my complete life. Only learning from every experience. Wherever you go, you can see the things you can learn. From every event, from every interaction. Now, how this learning process allows us to express happiness in our life. Now, once I went to Darjeeling. You may be knowing Darjeeling tea is very famous throughout the world. And in a tea garden, that person was a good friend of mine. He took me to his garden. So in his office, everything was so nice. And there was one nice sticker on the very entrance door of his office. It was written there, life is like a cup of tea, depends how you make it. You decide whether you make it bitter, whether you make it sweet, whether you make it stale, whether you make it hot. Choice is ours. God does not make anybody miserable. Don't blame that poor God. See, we are solely responsible for everything that happens in our life. See, when we take this principle, then we will stop blaming others for the miseries of our life. Normally, what is our lifestyle? Our lifestyle is we are expert in blaming others for all our miseries. For example, just this is an example. Suppose I am a husband. Thank God I am not. Suppose I am a husband. Now, if I am miserable, what will I do? I'll blame my wife. I am miserable because of her. Then what will be my approach? My approach will be to improve the wife so that I will not become miserable. This is called as impossible undertaking. You cannot improve anybody in this world. God has failed to make us happy. See? We have to discover happiness. Friends, scientific discovery. What is the meaning of discovery? See, for example, this gadget is covered with my shawl and I do not know where it is. So I start becoming miserable, angry, frustrated, and then blame others. Then somehow this cover comes out. The moment this cover comes out, have I created something? No. In discovery, there is no creation. See? Scientific discovery. Scientists do not create. They only discover. For example, Newton. Did he create the law of gravity? No. He discovered. And how he discovered? If I were with Newton going in the garden and he saw one apple falling down, what I would have done? Pick it up and start eating. But what he did, he started thinking, why it is not going up? So experience is the same. I have the same experience. One apple has fallen down. What was my reaction? Because I am not allowing myself to learn from every experience of life. Friends, if we take this as our lifestyle, then we have to learn from every passing experience of our life. What will happen? With every passing experience, we will grow wise. And if we don't learn from our experiences of life, we grow old and otherwise.
Real quick, I want to rephrase what he said a little bit earlier about you control every aspect of your life. I want to rephrase that because he clearly made another statement later on where you don't control other people. So I guess a way I would phrase that makes a little bit more sense for me is that you control a lot of aspects of yourself, your body in particular. Now don't get me wrong, you can't say I want to grow a third limb. Okay, so that doesn't work. But you know, you obviously you can, how you accept things in life, you can react to those things. So if someone says something, you can be offended, you can be happy, you can be neutral, you can be excited, you can be sad, you can be whatever you want to be. It's all up to you. Some people say, oh, I don't have any controls over my emotions. Like, yeah, you kind of do actually. There are many people who can take things many kind of news different ways. Obviously you'll have, you know, sad news that are genuinely sad that most people will take sad, and that's fine, that's okay. But it's about things where that are can actually be taken in many different ways. So how someone acts towards you, how someone talks to you, you could be offended, you can be happy, you could be glad, all those things you have absolute control over. You have control over who you talk to in life. I mean, again, you can't control how people act towards you or anything like that, but you can control how you act towards them and whether you try to interact with them or not. Or you can try to convince them otherwise so that they act differently towards you. You have control over that. So again, just to repeat, you have control over your body. You have, I'll give this caveat that you have control over most of your emotions. Obviously, if you get sad for a good reason, you know, you get sad. And you can get better at handling those. But generally speaking, you have control over your emotions, your body, not growing a third limb, and controlling your emotions and stuff. And you can't control other people, so but you can control how you act, how you interact with those people, and how you take what they say. So, such again, like I said, if they say something, you can either take that as offense, something being friendly, as someone being curious, etc.
What are the signs of the old otherwise people? They blame the whole world for all their problems. See, friends. Therefore, we have to learn. And when you start learning, then you will see we are focusing on ourselves, not on the world. See? It is something like this. If I have decided to learn in my life, then what will be the impact? It is something like this. Normally, what we do, see, if you have come to India, you know, traffic is terribly heavy and a lot of everything is there on the road. Like here in America, we have got democracy limited to human beings. In India, democracy is extended even to animals. Any animal can come anywhere on the road. You can't stop it. It's freedom. See? So when you are driving the car, suddenly a buffalo will come in front of you and look at you. So what? And you become angry. Why she is here? Do you ask her? See, friends. So what normally happens? We become disgusted, angry, etc. Instead of that, if we understand this simple thing, that who has the driving license? I have the driving license. So I should be capable, or the traffic on the road should be capable. So who has to live the life? I have to live the life. So I am solely 100% responsible for everything that happens in my life.
And here's the thing that he said earlier, and that I was trying to rephrase, because obviously, if you're driving on a road and someone slams into you, you didn't have any control over that. That's kind of the caveat I kind of want to put out there, because I don't know if some people take it as like, oh, I have control of everything around me, but he clearly says that you don't have control over other people as well, or other things, or animals, or anything like that. You have absolute control of the things that you have control over, which is yourself, the phone that you're touching at the moment, the third arm. Okay. Things that you have control over. So hopefully you do understand what you do have control over. When you're driving the car, you have control over the car. That's not to say that when we start getting into these AI cars, but self-driving cars, and it program somehow takes over and kind of just malfunctions, then at that point you lose control. If the self-driving car takes over and just starts swerving all over the place. But yes, understand what you do have control over, which is yourself, and generally speaking, things that you have control over in your hands, versus things that are external, other people, other objects, other animals.
So the first step to discover happiness in life is we must stop blaming anybody for the miseries of our life. We have taken a bold step. Now the second thing. One day one person asked me, Swamiji, you are moving around the world. I keep on moving. Last 40 years, I must have gone around the globe for more than 50, 60 times. All the continents. So one person asked me this question, Swamiji, what is the secret of your happiness? You go and stay in so many people's homes, everywhere. The tradition is different, the culture is different. There are Indian, there are non-Indian, Brazilians, Chinese, Japanese, Koreans. Everybody's house I go and stay. How can you find yourself comfortable? See, I told him, I said, I got a thumb rule. That rule I follow. The thumb rule is, write off your rights We have no rights on anybody in this world. We talk about our rights. No, talk about our duties. Like the great President Kennedy said, don't ask what America has given me. Think what I have given to America. The whole process of thinking will change.
Let me try to. I don't know exactly the quote itself, but it says, "Don't ask what the government can do for you, but what you can do for the government." That is, I'll say that speech is quite powerful, but at the same time, again, always be careful because you want to make sure that in life that you're. I say this, you don't want to get used. Obviously do things for the greater good or for other people that genuinely deserves it or that genuinely needs it. I don't like the word deserve, but just needs it. And if you want to, then perhaps in your eyes they need it or deserve it. Again, I don't like the word. I don't like to say I deserve something or that they deserve something, unless I obviously think that they deserve it. but yeah. So don't ask what the government can do for you. It's something along those lines. Don't ask for what the government can do for you, but what you can do for the government. But that would mean that everyone's doing everything for the government and the government's not doing anything back for the people. Obviously, I don't think that's what he meant, like as in the government's always taking and never giving. But it's more along the lines of making sure that how do I say that we think of other people perhaps instead of being selfish and just thinking for ourselves and what can make us better at the cost of other people, but more along the lines of how can we make other people better so that everyone can rise up in a sense. That's how I think about it.
And all the problems are born because of wrong thinking. And wrong thinking is originated from the strong I. This is my right. It should be like this. No.
Oh,
We have no right on anybody in this world.
you said the strong I and it's spelled like an I. I'm like, what I is this one? Is there another I that I don't know about? I is in the letter I.
Do we have right on our own mind? Like, elderly people, parents, etc. They always complain about their children. Now, if you think properly, see, all problems will be dissolved. Problems cannot be solved. Problems have to be dissolved. So, who is the parents? Parents are those who are the victims of their own mind. The mind is making us dance. See, as we are the victim of our mind, equally so, the children are also the victim of their mind. The two victims are trying to control each other. Failure is guaranteed. See, friends. Therefore, when we think about happiness, now we go to the next stage in learning. Where happiness happens. I'll give you one question to think for 1 minute, 2 minutes. Who goes to sleep?
The body.
Think about it.
Not really the body. I was gonna say the brain. Maybe the mind. I think the brain still goes active because it does a lot of short-term to
We
long-term
say,
memory.
I go to sleep, but in deep sleep, are we there? Suppose somebody is sleeping, snoring away. That time you go and talk to him. Hey John, how are you? Everything is fine with you? He will not reply. He is not there. Who goes to sleep? See? The waker doesn't go to sleep. Like now we are awake, is it not? So the waker doesn't go to sleep. He is not in the sleep. The dreamer who is dreaming, he also doesn't go to sleep. He is also not in the sleep. Then what happens? I am trying to tell you the source of happiness. So to learn and understand, now let us start learning the process how we go to sleep. Don't go to sleep now. Don't demonstrate how you go to sleep. We drop everything in the world. All our achievements, all our failures, everything we drop in the world. And then we come home. After we come home, we drop our home. Then we are in our room. Then after we are in our room, we go below the quilt. Then we drop that room also. And last, what is going on? Only one thought. I want to sleep. I want to sleep. So we start tossing on the bed. First on the back side. Oh, I'm thinking it's change. Then we turn to the left side. No, I think I should turn to the right. So I want to sleep. Till such time, I is there and want is there, sleep doesn't begin. And why we want to go to sleep? Only for happiness. And in sleep, what do we have?
Nothing.
We have no property, no achievements, no friends, no enemies, no nothing. To the extent, even I, who wanted to sleep, he also disappears.
I was laughing just because. Why do you want to go to sleep? Happiness. It's like, yeah, I hear a lot of people saying that. It's like, no, I want to go to sleep. Sleep is so good.
Then what remains is only happiness.
I will say though, only happiness. If nothing is there, is nothing happiness? I'd say that's contentment more than happiness. Again, this is where I kind of differ in terms of bliss. Like people say you experience bliss or happiness and when you realize yourself or when you're able to quiet your mind and everything. I have to think of that as content, meaning that you're not happy or sad. That's my preferred statement, contentment, as opposed to happiness or bliss.
This process is like what? When we go to the bed, go to sleep, what we do? We plug our phone to the mains for charging. So overnight, it gets charged. So next day morning, again we start WhatsApp. Exactly the same way, our battery is completely discharged all day. I want this fighting, shouting, wow, 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 constantly agitated. The battery gets discharged. And when we go to sleep, what happens? We connect ourselves to the ultimate source of energy. And therefore, we get recharged. We are full of energy. Be very attentive. But what happens? Out of sleep we come. But out of bed we don't come out. Technically it is called as lag period. In English language it is called the wool gathering. We are out of the sleep but not out of bed. Then what happens? The mind starts spinning. All imaginations. And the battery that we have charged overnight is completely discharged. And then we get out of the bed only by nature's grace. Therefore they call it nature's call. See? And then whole day we are somehow dragging through life. Therefore, instead of seeking happiness, these small things if we learn, that if we had good sleep, overnight, charge fully, get up. And we have to begin our day in an inspired mode. Not somehow dragging through life. No. See, friends. And what is the inspired existence? Let us be the source of joy and happiness to whosoever comes in our life. And that is possible only if we write off all our rights on anybody in this world. We have no rights. We have only duty. Because what is right? Rights are having expectations associated. And when we do not have any kind of expectation from anything, anybody, including God, you will be at peace with yourself.
I wonder, can you say that you have rights for yourself, but maybe not rights for other people? As in, because he says rights are like expectations. So if you interchange rights and expectations, can you have expectations for yourself, but not expectations for other people? But rights and I guess it's not necessarily he's using as an interchangeable word, but more along the lines of that when you say you have rights, there's an expectation that comes with it. That's what he meant, I think. And I think that makes more sense. But what kind of expectations do you expect from rights? That you're, to me, rights are something that you have a right to do. That doesn't mean that your rights trumps over other people's rights. It's just to say that you are able to do something. I don't see anything necessarily wrong with that. The only thing I see wrong with it when you take it to the extreme of saying I have a right to punch you, or I have the right to throw you in jail, or I have the right to take your things. That's not really what rights are. Rights are meant to protect people and things. But generally speaking, meant to allow you to do things that perhaps you weren't otherwise have a right to do. Again, protesting the government, speaking ill of the government, speaking your mind, generally speaking. You have a right to do those things. To me, there's not an expectation to rights, so I don't know if rights is the right word it's using. Anyways, I don't know what he could mean by rights, though. Rights with expectations. The only thing I can think of with expectations that comes from innately within you is desires or wants or needs. Well, needs. Yeah, needs. Your desires, your wants, and your needs all have an expectation to you. An expectation to complete those desires, complete those needs, complete those wants, I think. I'm a little confused about what he means by rights here, though. I don't think he means, like, freedom of speech and stuff like that. I can see the expectations a little bit, I think.
And when we start living this life, we are at peace with ourselves. Then what happens? Our dependence on things and beings is reduced to a great extent. That independence is happiness. That one absolute is happiness. In deep sleep, we are nobody. Now we are awake. Now who are we? Mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife, in-law, outlaw, Indian, American, rich, poor, educated, uneducated. How much burden we have on our head. And when we carry any burden on our head, we cannot be relaxed. See, once in Pittsburgh, in the university, I gave a talk, and a professor of philosophy, he was there. After my talk was over, he told me, Mr. Swami, you presented the concepts very well. I said, my dear, I disagree with you. I did not talk concepts. Concepts are subject to change. Today you are a professor, is a concept. Tomorrow you will be retired. Today you are an American, a concept. You go to India, become Indian citizen, concept has changed. Concepts are subject to change. The truth, the happiness is not subject to change. See? Now what is that? You are. Being is the reality. Becoming is conceptual. See?
That's interesting. I was trying to think of like concepts. Concepts are ideas that we believe in. The concept of the professor, the title professor. Generally speaking, that means someone who, well, for one, got the job as a professor. Now, whether they got the qualifications for it or not, that's a different story. But, you know, a cop, soldier, nurse, all these are concepts. What is the concept of a nurse? Someone who takes care of patients. Same thing with a doctor, but obviously there's a different concepts behind a doctor and a nurse. Doctor, I don't know, I don't know what the differences are. Obviously, doctors tends to be higher up than a nurse, but I don't know what they do separately because they both take care of patients, obviously. But I think doctors can prescribe and all that, whereas nurses cannot. Then you have registered nurse and nurse assistants and a whole bunch of concepts there. And the concept doesn't necessarily change in terms of what they do. I mean, maybe it changes in terms of how they take care of patients and what they're capable of doing to take care of a patient, but the person that's a nurse, yes, can change for sure. So like he was saying that, today you're a nurse, maybe tomorrow you retire and you're not a nurse anymore. You're an ex-nurse or retired nurse. Never thought about it like that. Concepts are of course ideas. I don't think those ideas necessarily change, but who applies for those ideas can change. So a nurse will always be a nurse, and a nurse, generally speaking, takes care of patients. I don't think that concept will change, but the idea of me being a nurse and then staying a nurse forever will never be, because obviously I will retire or die one day and I will no longer be a nurse. So I think in that sense, yes, for sure.
I am, then I become. Now take this example which I oft quote. One man. I am that man, for example. Now I am referred as a son with reference to my father. I am referred as a husband with reference to my wife. I am referred as a father with reference to my son. Have I become three? I am one. So being is one, becoming is many. And these many do not exist anywhere. Think over this. Now continue further. This I, the son, with reference to my father, when my father dies, what happens to me, the son? Nothing. I continue to exist as a man. Father was anyway only conceptual, not real. Real is I.
Yeah, these titles are like nurse, merely a way of understanding each other. Obviously, if you say, "Oh yeah, I'm a son," obviously every male here is a son, and every daughter is every female is a daughter, because obviously if you're a daughter or a son, you have to have parents, unless you're a test tube baby, in which you still technically have a father and mother, but you're grown in a test tube. And these are just concepts so that we understand references. Again, this is when we talk about the Swami, who am I? I forgot what I said, but like form and function. I think that's what I said. So a son, the form is a male body, and the function is it's a little bit different, but it's that you're a child of the father. So that's what a son is. A father is a male body, and the form is the not the offspring, but the father of a son. I don't know how to what's the offspring of your father, and your son is. You get what I'm saying, though.
Then my wife dies. What happens to me, the husband? Nothing. Because husband is not something you can separate out. See, for example, he is a husband. Now, can we separate out man from husband? Where is he? So, when my wife dies, nothing happens to me, the husband. Similarly, when my son dies, nothing happens to me, the father. Nothing. Because I am one. Therefore, that one has become many because of many attachments. Like space is one. That one space is called as north, east, west, south. And whenever we get lost in these conditioned expressions, we are in a miserable situation. Remain unconditioned. The one. That is what exactly in deep sleep. Where are we? Question number 1. When are we? Question number 2. What are we? Question number 3. Where are we? No space. When are we? No time. What are we? Nobody. But happiness is there. So what we have to learn, whenever we are conditioned by time, space and object, we limit ourselves, and that limited existence is a miserable experience. Therefore, when we start learning from our own experiences of life, see friends, slowly, our old habit of reacting with the world is slowly reduced.
Does it have to be a miserable experience, though? I mean, okay, so I remember saying a long time ago, I asked Swami Taramadanda a question. And here's the question that I asked. I asked, do you have to be enlightened? Do you have to be enlightened to end suffering? Or can you end suffering without being enlightened? So this goes back to what he just said here, where he's saying, you know, time, space, and was it? I forgot what the 3 things: object, space, and time. Where you at, what you are, and what time. When is it? Are miserable? He says. Like, well, does it have to be miserable? Do you have to see those things as miserable? So this goes back to the question that, you know, can you have no suffering and not be enlightened? Meaning that having a time, a place, an object as something that's not suffering. That was the question I asked. He hasn't answered it yet. I know he answered quite a bit of questions, and I'm guessing he gets a lot. So I'm hoping eventually he does. I guess maybe I should ask Swami Sarvapriyananda as well. But he gets a lot too, so I don't think he'll ever be seen.
This happened in Germany many years before. After my retreat was over, one German lady, she came and asked me. That time I was pretty young. He said, Mr. Swami, you should have come in my life 25 years before. I said, even then I would not have married you. So, no, not for that. Then for what? I would not have divorced 3 times. Now I realize I was at fault every time. But it is too late now. I said, okay, now 4th time, don't do it again, okay? Get married. Then I said, you asked me a question, now I want to ask you a question. Yes. Now, this is a very deep question, be attentive. I said, when you got married for the first time, you were wife 1, W1, and husband was H1. So the first couple was W1, H1. Second couple, W2, H2. Third couple, W3, H3. Now tell me, this wife that you were, W1 is equal to W2, is equal to W3, is equal to what? Have you become 3 wives? And when you divorce, where that wife has gone? Friends, everything is in our mind. And therefore, real spiritual practice begins from the mind. We have to mind our mind.
Hmm.
See, we take care of our body, eating organic food, and then doing exercise. Very good. We have to take care of our body. But what we have done to take care of our mind?
Okay, I'm gonna actually pause it right there because it's getting quite long. So I'm gonna stop in that midpoint there. But yes, absolutely, he's right. I was hoping you'd get a little bit more into what the German ladies like. What happened to those three wives? But he never. Well, maybe he answers it later on. I'm not sure. But to hopefully, I wonder if she realized, like, that these are just concept or ideas of who those wives are. But I don't know where he was going with that though. Other than the fact that those three wives are the same person. But I do wonder what she realized though. She said she realized that she was in the wrong, but like, what did she do? I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that she's really in the wrong. I mean, it could have been those three husbands, but when it's three husbands, there's something wrong with you. I guess maybe choosing bad husbands. Maybe that could be the problem, or maybe you were the bad wife for all three of them. I don't know. I know there's. We tend to want something sometimes that's good, but we know it's bad, but yet we still choose it sometimes. So it's kind of like with her, if she chooses bad husbands, she wants those husbands, but they're bad and she knows it, but she still wanted it. Again, I don't know what the situation is with that scenario. But anyways, at least this is part 1 of Life is Happiness. If you like more content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.